My name is Neil Jern. I'm the CEO here at Seven Tech. We're going to talk about 7 layers, and a lot of these you guys know them or they make sense to you. When you look at this now and we look back at the three most common ways that hackers get in, they roughly translate to these layers. Now, there's some overlap in these, but they roughly translate to the network, endpoints, applications, and users layers. And so we're going to talk about all the layers, but we're going to spend a little bit more time on those. Um, what is really the benefit of doing all this work, Larry? Could you tell us?
Absolutely. The main benefit you'll get by reducing and doing all of this work in terms of making your organization better is minimizing the surface of attack, your attack surface for all of your organization combined in a technical aspect. The less visible your organization is to threat actors, the less they have to go based off of. So when you're thinking about this, it could be, how are people in my office accessing my files when they're working remotely? Do we have cloud infrastructure? Do we have a VPN? Do we have a public RDP server? Do we have applications that we host internally and are available to our employees when they're working remotely with no VPN? It's really what's in my office and in my cloud, and how is it accessible, and how can you minimize that? And it's coming at the cost of hopefully not making your employees' life harder. There's a lot of really good applications that help reduce your service area without complicating your network setup or making your employees' lives harder. But all of these are to shrink your attack surface. So when a threat actor is doing reconnaissance, they don't even see your company come up. You're just not even on the list of potential targets for them to look into.
Starting at the bottom, the physical layer is exactly what it sounds like. It's your physical devices. It's the actual, physical systems, switches, servers, all those things. This is often overlooked by IT professionals. We get brought into organizations a lot, and we'll go do a site survey or something like that, and we'll see that things are just kind of wide open sometimes. You got server rooms with everyone has access to, or you've got network ports that I could just plug into anywhere in the organization and at least get an IP address and be on the network. So physical security, you don't want to overlook it. Now, in the playbook that we're providing, we go a lot deeper into this. We're not going to go as deep into this layer because it's not as exploited as some of the other layers, but it's still important. In the playbook, there's a lot of details in there, and there's action items on each of the layers. So I would encourage you, get the playbook and take action on each layer. Let's jump into layer two, the perimeter layer. And when you think about the perimeter, most of us think about firewalls, right? That's pretty much what most people think about. But it's really, there's this old example of perimeter security that's a castle with a moat, right? And the firewall is kind of like almost like a drawbridge where you're kind of selectively letting in and out what you want. The reason why kind of that castle and moat kind of analogy of cybersecurity doesn't work anymore is the firewall is really only protecting the edge, right? Um, the firewall is really only protecting the edge of the network. It's not really actively protecting all the devices inside the network, or more importantly, the devices outside of the network. So really the answer is the perimeter is dead. The perimeter as we know it doesn't exist anymore. And the main reason behind that is the explosion of remote work. Now, some of us still have organizations where everyone's kind of behind a firewall, and you're still all within that in that kind of four walls, but more and more that's not the case. And you can't pretend like the firewall is all you need, because it's not. You've got to bring that protection all the way down to the endpoint. You got to treat the endpoint as the perimeter. And so the trend that you're seeing is the perimeter has moved from the perimeter up to actual endpoints, the devices themselves. And it's a much better strategy for protecting your organization than just relying on something out on the edge to do that. Layer three, the network itself. When we're talking about the network, we're talking about switches, we're talking about access points, but we're also talking about the software that makes that network work, like the Windows Active Directory, which is a directory service, for example. You've got that software that provides resource sharing, it provides communications, it provides identity access, right, or authentication. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the network layer. It's that combination of both the physical and the software that create security. What you need to know about the network layer, and one of the most important kind of cybersecurity rules, is proper network segmentation. A lot of times we're brought into organizations and they're kind of have a flat network or everything's in one network. And the danger of that is if one thing gets attacked, it's successfully on that network, then hackers can move laterally because everything's kind of in one space. So the more you can segment that logically to fit things like departments and where there's risk, the better off you are. So that way, if something does get attacked, you're isolating it to more of an area than an entire organization. This can be done using something called VLANs on switches, or you can use actual firewalls between network segments as well. Also, with the network layer, a common problem that we see is device updates that are not being done or patches are not being applied to things like switches, access points, and so on. So you really want to be on top of that. We often see that there's sometimes organizations we are brought into that they've never had any of them done, and it's a huge vulnerability. It's pretty easy to crack some of those devices when they've never had any patches. Moving on to layer 4, which is endpoints, and that's your workstations, your servers, your IoT devices. And here is our secret. If you wanted to know the secret, this is it. It's using a zero trust strategy with endpoints. What is not a zero trust solution? Let's talk about that for a second. You've got antivirus is not zero trust. Antivirus is looking for known bad things. It's not, so it assumes everything's good unless it shows itself to be bad. So that's not zero trust. VPN is not zero trust. VPN, if anyone has the right username, password, or credentials, it assumes once they're connected that all that traffic should just be allowed back and forth. So not zero trust. And firewalls themselves are not zero trust. They're just looking for bad things as well to block. So those are not examples of a zero trust strategy. Threat Locker is one of the tools we use. It is it's really game-changing technology for endpoints, and it's a true zero trust solution. One of the things that it's doing is in many organizations out there, you probably are the same. None of your users are local administrators of their machine, or they probably don't have permission to install things on their computers. But that doesn't prevent them from running executables. So like Nmap just being an executable, or something like Nessus, those are just executables. So they don't need permission to install them to run them. So that's what hackers are relying on. Hackers are relying on the fact that they have enough permission to run a piece of software that doesn't need to be installed, that can do all the damage they need to do. So keep that in mind, that just because they're not local administrators of the machine doesn't mean that antivirus is gonna help you at all. Threat Locker will. So anyway, if you know you need a solution like that, which we do recommend, talk to us about it. We can give you a more in-depth demo on Threat Locker, but it is game-changing technology. Moving on, and there's some blurring between layer 4, the endpoints layer, and layer 5, the applications layer. What you're going to see is there's more to it with applications that you have to be worried about. And when we're talking about applications, we're really talking about things like the everyday applications like Word, Excel, but also your line of business applications. So you may have a custom application or something that's specific to your business. That's what we're talking about here. Here's an example of, if you have line of business applications and they have MFA, you should have that turned on, because now that's the closest a hacker can get to your actual proprietary data is your line of business applications. So if they have MFA or 2FA, make sure that's enabled. Another thing is really controlling who has access to those applications using good security for identity, right? And then the third thing There's something called ZTNA. If you're using a traditional VPN today, how do you get zero trust for applications? One is something called ZTNA, which means you're just allowing them to access sort of the interface of the applications. They don't have full access to the files, the server, all of that. So it's a different way. They could remotely connect in and run the application, but they're not actually having direct access to it. So it's a different way to think about that. So let's move on to layer 6, the data layer. This is not the one of the layers that we said was most important, but what is most important about the data layer, and the biggest mistake that we see, is people not following the principle of least privilege. And I think it's because sometimes IT professionals are a little bit lazy and they would just rather give people more permissions than they need than really set up those permissions in a granular way. The principle of least privilege says you should only have enough permissions to do what you need to do every day, and that's it, no more. So it takes extra work, but it's exactly what hackers are hoping you won't do. They're hoping you won't take the effort to set up the permissions correctly so that when they gain access to that user's computer, they have more access than they should, and they can exploit that. Many of you have an account that has all access and you use that as your everyday account. We call that your daily driver account. Oftentimes CEOs will also say, like myself, I might say, hey, give me access to everything because I don't want to be bothered with requesting access to anything. This is a huge mistake. And the way it should be is that you actually have each of these important users should have 2 accounts. I am a CEO and I have 2 accounts. This account that I'm logged in with right now has absolutely no permissions to anything. Like I use this every day and all I get is just enough access to access the files I need, the internet, all of that. I don't have any administrative privileges. I have a separate account for that, which is a high security password, has MFA on it, all of that. Now, I think what you got to do is you get that highest level person like me, a CEO, you get them on your side and give them to give up their access, and they'll set the tone to help the rest of your organization to set a good example. I'm literally sitting here with an account that can do nothing. I can do nothing on the domain, no privileges, nothing. And that's the way I do it every single day because it's the right thing to do. So so just know that you really have to have, 2 accounts for people that need those high level permissions, including IT professionals. And IT professionals should do the same thing. They should have their everyday account, which is the account they use for all of their communications, their email, Teams, all those internet communications should be done with your everyday account. And your high level administrator account would be the one you use for things like setting permissions and creating users and all that. And don't use that for communications. This is paramount, and it's in the guide. It's one of the action items is to make sure you have multiple accounts. Layer 7 is user education, and users or user education or security awareness training, which is often a sore spot for a lot of us IT professionals. It's not always easy to get people to engage with that. This quote really says it the best, is amateurs hack systems, but professionals hack people. And so we know that social engineering is still one of the main ways that these high-level hacker groups get in, is they just con users into giving them the access. They're not doing anything super sophisticated. They're not breaking in with a cracked password, or they're not exploiting a vulnerability. They're just exploiting people. And if you can do that, you've got all the access you need. And so we have to teach our users about how to be skeptical and take that element of trust that they probably have in the real world where they want to trust people. And when it comes to an online world, they got to go to more of a zero trust approach and don't trust, and have people verify their identity, verify what they are requesting is actually valid. So how can you do that? How can you get your users engaged? Here's 3 ways. Continuous training. You've got to do it. They need to be aware. Online classes, but not only online. If you can get people together into groups, make some fun events about it. We have some details about this in the guide as well. Number two, establish a cybersecurity culture. And that's really talk to your teams about the latest scams. Get them to tell you about the latest scams that they've seen. And you, as the expert, you can be there to help guide them through that and apply it to what they're doing in your organization every day. And then regularly test and assess. We use tools that phish our users, right? So we're sending, phishing emails to them, and we're testing to see if they fall for those, and then providing remedial training. A lot of you may have tools similar to that, and you need those, but also periodically just test them with questions, and with maybe, again, getting them into small groups. Have a list of questions. For the people who answer those questions correctly, give them some sort of small prize or notoriety, and you kind of get the engagement really high on this. And really the bonus is frequently test your threat prevention layers. You can go and make all these improvements to your threat prevention, but if you don't test, you don't know if they're working, right? You'll find out two ways if your threat prevention is working. Number one, if you hire a third party to really help you test and check. Or number two, if the hackers break in, then you'll know it didn't work. Your threat prevention didn't work. And number two is a lot more expensive than number one. You're much better off hiring some experts to help you test and fix all the issues than to find out that out when hackers break in, right? This is the link to get the playbook. So you can get it on that QR code.